guys, got another video again today, and today we're going to be talking about why the Fuji XT4, which I'm filming on now, is a great vlogging camera. And if you're new to this channel, you should definitely consider sticking around and subscribing, because my name is Chad Ainsworth, and this channel is all about photography, travel, and beach life. So if any of those things interest you, definitely think about subscribing. Let me get this mask off. Never gets old. Jeez, man. That is just the most incredible view. Look at this. Gosh. And keep in mind, guys, everything being shot in this video is being done with the Fuji XT4, except for any shots, obviously, of the XT4. But otherwise, this is all just an example of test footage of what it's like to vlog with this camera, so keep that in mind while you're watching all this. Just landed the drone while vlogging. Gotta win me some sort of award, right? But you guys, I thought yesterday's video was gonna be the top, like, peak moment of beauty in the trip, but good Lord, incredible. But all right, let's get to the topic of the video. All right, now, got my notes out. Let's talk about why the Fuji XT4 is a great vlogging camera. For this video, I wanted to break it down into 5 reasons that this camera is great for vlogging. And the first one is ergonomics. A lot of people talk about cameras needing to be small and lightweight in order to be able to be sufficient for vlogging, and this camera fits the bill. It's not the smallest of cameras. It is pretty lightweight for what it is and what it can do, and it's still compact enough to be able to handhold and feel comfortable and throw around in a bag and not have to worry about it being too cumbersome. And it's definitely not too heavy. I don't have any problems with this thing being too heavy at all. And playing more into the ergonomic side of things is the flip out screen. If a camera doesn't have a flip out screen, it sucks for vlogging. The flip out screen is essential for being able to film yourself. And a lot of people talk about this on YouTube for good reason, because without that, you're really flying blind. You have no idea what you look like. Like right now, if a cloud passed by in front of the sun, I would have no idea that I would be super dark, and unless I'm being super aware of that all the time. And that takes away from being able to be in touch with what you're saying to the camera when you're constantly worrying about what it looks like because you can't see with a quick check between takes. That moves into the second point that I wanted to make, number 2, and that's the fact that this thing's got great audio preamps and pretty reliable autofocus for video. This thing's not as perfect as, say, something like the Canon ESR is, or any of the Canon dual pixel autofocus cameras. Those things are unbelievable for autofocus, but this thing is not far behind, and I believe it's got the best APS-C autofocus on the market. And it will jump around from time to time if you're not being careful, but for the most part, it does a really good job for vlogging, because again, with vlogging, there's always a little bit of lenience for things being a little bit grungy and a little bit off, because it is vlogging, and that sort of goes with the nature of what it is. And third on the list, the fact that this thing has stunning image quality. I mean, it's fantastic. As far as the spec sheet goes, it can do 4K at full sensor width without any crop for 24 frames per second as well as 60 frames per second, and that's maintaining 10-bit color, which is fantastic. Also being shot in F-Log. All of that works with autofocus. No little asterisks or caveats to have to worry about. And then if you want to go into super slow-mo from there, it has full HD at 120 frames per second and at 240 frames per second. So if you really need to slow down some action, you can. But I will say the 240 frames option, you can see a little bit of pixelation happening. It's definitely, I would think, not quite actually 1080. It's being upscaled from a lower resolution, I think. Don't quote me on that, but it looks like it. But the 120 frames in the 1080 is very clean and looks awesome. And again, still being able to shoot in F-Log during those clips. Speaking of F-Log, that's number 4 on the list. This camera has fantastic high dynamic range capability while recording video because of the F-Log capability of this camera. If you don't know what F-Log is, it's log footage, and most other camera manufacturers have cameras with log capability. Canon has their C-Log, Panasonic has V-Log, Sony has S-Log, and different variants of all that, but F-Log I've found to be very easy to work with in terms of color grading, but it's got way more dynamic range than the C-Log does on Canon. You know, right now, shooting this shot, back when I used to use the EOS R, the whole sky would have been blown out white behind me, or I would have been way too dark. And I had to choose in between. And with F-Log, with this, I'm able to maintain really great dynamic range. You can still see the background plenty. I'm in focus and clear and bright, and it gives you a lot of flexibility for user error when you're vlogging, because when you're vlogging, it's that guerrilla style filmmaking where you're just running, gunning all day, and you're going to make some mistakes along the way because you can't shoot memorable moments twice. You have to capture them as they're happening. And because of that, you might get the exposure settings wrong. And F-Log gives you a lot of forgiving capability to be able to adjust that in post-production and still be able to salvage the footage. Not to mention, even when you nail the exposure, it looks great. It looks super cinematic, and I like for my vlogs to be a little bit cinematic in conjunction with being a little bit guerrilla style. And that brings me to my 5th and final point, and this is the most important point for a lot of people, and that's price and value. And with the Fuji XT4, you are getting tremendous value. I think best value in the marketplace, whether you're counting full frame cameras or APS-C or Micro Four Thirds. The feature set you get to cram into this camera and have access to for only $1,700 is phenomenal. I mean, and then you get that camera on the used marketplace for $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. That is huge value for what this thing can do with all of the 4K modes, the high-speed 1080 modes, the F-Log, the high bit rates of 400 megabits a second video, the 10-bit color that you can get in almost every video mode. And that's just the video side of this thing. If you want to take pictures, this thing does awesome for pictures as well. And I'm going to make a separate video reviewing this camera for photos. But as far as vlogging goes, and even filmmaking, you can use this thing to make film as well, to make some films and be able to have very cinematic footage. But I think it's the perfect blend of being able to bring a lot of that cinematic quality into the world of vlogging. And this camera does a great job at it for a tremendous value and price. And that also means that because it's an APS-C camera, the lenses are a lot more affordable as well. And Fuji has by far the best APS-C lens lineup on the marketplace. They have put, because they don't make full frame cameras, they have put all of their eggs in the APS-C basket, and they have premium top-notch glass options for anything you can imagine, all throughout wide angle to medium to telephoto to macro to portraiture lenses, and it's just fantastic what you can get for great prices, because all of those lenses are usually south of $1,000, even for the premium ones, and some of them go north of $1,000, but you know, for the equivalency, like the 70 to 200 for Canon f2.8, the most recent version for the RF system is like almost $3,000. And the 50 to 140 f2.8, which is the equivalency for APS-C for Fujifilm, is somewhere in the $1,200 range. It's less than half the price. I mean, you can't go wrong with that when you can afford way more in terms of the number of lenses because of the price of your camera and the price of the lenses being far lower. And despite the fact that the tremendous capability and value is still there, you're not sacrificing on quality. But that does it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in vlogging, you might want to stick around and subscribe to this channel, because I've got a lot of other videos that I've done this week that you need to go check out, and I've got a lot more coming. I'm going to continue to teach vlogging tips and tricks as well as photography, and if you want to get into trying to build a business as a photographer, I'm going to show you how to do that. So stick around for that if you want, guys. Again, my name is Chad Ainsworth. This channel is all about photography, travel, and beach life. I am in Colorado right now on vacation, but I'll be back in Florida doing the beach life stuff soon. So, alright guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Later.